You hate discipline. Don't lie to yourself. You don't hate the results. You hate the process. And that hatred is costing you everything. Let's cut straight to the bone. Every morning you wake up with intentions, real ones. You genuinely want to change. You want to be the person who wakes up early, works hard, stays focused, and builds something worth having. But by noon, you've already negotiated yourself out of half your commitments. By evening, you're sitting in the same chair, scrolling the same feed, feeling the same quiet disgust with yourself. And tomorrow you'll do it again. This is not weakness. This is biology being used against you. And until you understand the weapon being used, you cannot defend against it. Machiavelli wrote that men are driven by necessity and desire, not vision, not values, necessity and desire. Your brain is not interested in your goals, it is interested in your survival. And in a world where everything comfortable is one tap away, your brain has decided that discipline is a threat. Not a tool, a threat. The ancient Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth and still wrote private notes reminding himself not to be seduced by comfort. He understood something most people never discover. The brain must be deceived before it can be directed. You cannot overpower your own neurology with willpower alone. That battle is already lost before it begins. Here is the thesis. You don't have a discipline problem, you have a brain design problem. And design problems require engineering solutions, not motivational speeches. Today you will learn 6 principles. 1. The dopamine hijack. 2. The minimum viable threat. 3. The identity loop. 4. The reward reversal. 5. The suffering reframe. 6. The compound momentum trap. Stay until the end because Principle 6 is the reason every other system you've tried has eventually failed. And once you understand it, you will never fall into that trap again. Your brain is running a scam on you, and it starts with dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. That is wrong. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It does not fire when you receive a reward. It fires when you expect one. This distinction is everything. When you pick up your phone, dopamine surges before you even see anything interesting. The anticipation of stimulation is enough. Your brain has been trained, conditioned like a laboratory animal, to associate certain behaviors with incoming rewards. Social media platforms employ entire teams of neuroscientists to exploit this mechanism. They are not designing entertainment, they are designing traps. Sophisticated, tested, optimized traps. And discipline, your workout, your study session, your creative work, offers no such anticipation signal because you have not trained your brain to expect a reward from it. The result is that every time you face a disciplined task, your brain experiences something close to threat response. Low-grade resistance, a quiet but persistent pull towards something easier. Sun Tzu wrote that all warfare is based on deception. Apply that to your own mind. You must deceive your brain into generating dopamine anticipation around disciplined behavior. Not after the behavior, before it. Here is your tactic. Starting tomorrow, create a pre-discipline ritual, a specific sequence of 2 or 3 actions that you perform only before your disciplined task. The same music, the same posture, the same drink, the same 60 seconds, every single time without exception. You are conditioning your brain to treat that ritual as a dopamine trigger. You are building a Pavlovian bridge between anticipation and hard work. Within 3 weeks, that ritual will begin generating the same pull your phone currently generates. You are not motivating yourself, you are engineering yourself. Ask yourself this question: what is the one ritual you can design right now that costs you nothing but 2 minutes? But dopamine alone is not enough, because your brain has another defense system, and it is more dangerous than distraction. Your brain uses something called the threat minimization response. When a task feels too large, too unclear, or too uncertain, your brain classifies it as a threat to resources, energy, time, social capital. And it responds the way any organism responds to a threat it cannot immediately defeat: it avoids. This is why your to-do list paralyzes you. This is why the bigger the goal, the harder it is to start. The size of the vision activates the size of the threat response. You are not lazy. You are being neurologically overpowered by your own ambition. Machiavelli understood the danger of overextension. He warned that a prince who attempts to hold too much territory weakens every front. Your brain operates on the same principle. Ask it to conquer too much at once, and it surrenders before the first battle. The solution is the minimum viable threat. You need to make the entry point of every disciplined task so small that your brain cannot classify it as a threat. Not 5 pages, 1 paragraph. Not 1 hour at the gym, 1 set. Not a complete business plan, 1 sentence of 1 section. You are not lowering your standards, you are bypassing the threat gate. Because here is what your brain doesn't tell you. Once you start, the threat response dissolves. Momentum overrides resistance. The hardest part is always the 3 seconds before you begin. Make those 3 seconds non-negotiable, and everything after becomes possible. Count to 3 right now. Then open whatever task you have been avoiding. Just open it, nothing else. Watch what happens in your body. That is the minimum viable threat in action. But here is where most people stop. They use tactics without ever fixing the deeper architecture. And that deeper architecture is identity. You perform according to what you believe you are, not what you want to be, not what you plan to become, what you currently believe you are at a cellular level. This is called identity-based behavior, and it is the most powerful force in human psychology. A wolf does not motivate itself to hunt. It hunts because it is a wolf. The behavior flows from the identity automatically, without negotiation, without a motivational video, without a morning routine checklist. The identity generates the behavior as a natural output. Right now you have an identity that includes the belief, I am someone who struggles with discipline. You may not say those words, but your behavior broadcasts them every day. And here is the brutal psychological truth. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, you cast a vote for that identity. Every time you hit snooze, scroll instead of work, or quit early, you are not just losing that one battle. You are reinforcing a self-image that will fight against you in every future battle. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's life is what his thoughts make it. He meant this literally. Your consistent internal narrative about who you are becomes a self-fulfilling operational system. Your tactic is the identity loop. For the next 7 days, after every single disciplined action, no matter how small, you will say these exact words to yourself. This is who I am. Not good job, not finally. This is who I am. You are not celebrating the action, you are casting a vote for the identity. 1 vote at a time, 7 days. You will feel the shift, not because of magic, because repetition rewires neural pathways. Neuroscience calls it long-term potentiation. You are building a new biological reality. But if you are honest with yourself, identity alone still won't be enough. Because there is a deeper trap, one that is wired directly into how your brain processes pleasure and pain. Your brain is currently running a reward structure that is completely inverted from what you need. It rewards you for avoiding discipline and punishes you for practicing it. Immediate comfort for choosing distraction, immediate discomfort for choosing work. This is the core engineering problem, and until you reverse it, every other tactic is building on a broken foundation. The reward reversal is the surgical intervention. You must make discipline feel like relief and avoidance feel like pain, not philosophically, neurologically. Here is how you do it. You build what psychologists call a consequence asymmetry. 2 columns on a piece of paper. In the left column, you write every immediate sensation you associate with your disciplined task. In the right column, you write every long-term cost of avoiding it. And here is the critical instruction. Read the right column first, every single time before you start, every single time. You are preloading the emotional weight of inaction before your brain can generate resistance to action. Machiavelli wrote that the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool waits until the pain of inaction exceeds the discomfort of action. You are engineering that crossover point to happen before you even begin. The hyena waits for something to die before it moves. The lion creates the kill. You have been operating like a hyena toward your own potential, waiting for the pain to become unbearable before you act. The reward reversal turns you into the lion. You choose the moment, not your biology. Now we reach the principle most discipline teachers refuse to discuss, because it requires you to look at something uncomfortable. You have been taught that discipline should feel like struggle, like suffering, like a constant war against your own nature. Every motivational framework you have ever consumed is built on the premise that hard work is supposed to hurt, and the measure of your character is how much pain you can endure. That framework is wrong, and it is destroying your long-term capacity for discipline. The suffering reframe is not about making discipline easy. It is about changing what the suffering means to your brain, because meaning changes neurological response. This is not philosophy. This is documented in research on elite military personnel, professional athletes, and long-term meditators. The people who sustain the highest levels of disciplined performance do not experience suffering as evidence of damage. They experience it as evidence of growth. The discomfort does not signal that something is wrong. It signals that something is working. Your brain currently interprets the burn of discipline as a warning. Stop, conserve, retreat. You must reprogram that interpretation. Every time you feel the resistance, the fatigue, the friction of hard work, you will say one thing internally. This is the feeling of becoming. Not, this is hard. This is the feeling of becoming. Epictetus, born a slave, who became one of the most powerful philosophical minds in Roman history, wrote that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Change the judgment. Change the neurological response. Change the behavior. The fox does not fear the forest. It uses the forest. Use your suffering. We are almost at principle 6, and I need you to stay with this because what comes next is the reason most disciplined people eventually collapse. Even the ones who do everything right. Here is the trap nobody warns you about. Discipline, when it begins working, generates momentum, and momentum generates confidence, and confidence, unchecked, generates complacency. This is the compound momentum trap. You work hard for 3 weeks, you see results. Your brain registers progress and begins quietly, invisibly, reducing the threat signal that was driving your behavior. The urgency fades, the ritual slips. 1 day off becomes 2, 2 becomes a week. And you tell yourself you deserve the rest. You earned it. You will restart Monday. You have been in this cycle before. You recognize it right now, and you probably assumed the solution was more willpower, more motivation, more intensity at the start. But that is wrong. Intensity at the start does not prevent the compound momentum trap. Only one thing does: scheduled friction. Here is the tactic. Every 10 days, you deliberately increase the difficulty of your discipline by a measurable amount. Not because you need to, because your brain needs a new threat signal to maintain urgency. You are not letting the system settle into comfort. You are engineering permanent, productive discomfort. The wolf that finds easy prey in one territory moves to harder territory. Not because it must, because stagnation is death. Machiavelli wrote that there is nothing more dangerous than inaction in times that call for action. Your own success will call for inaction if you let it. Do not let it. Now let's close with precision. You came into this video with a brain working against you. You leave with 6 engineering solutions. The dopamine hijack, building anticipation rituals before disciplined tasks. The minimum viable threat, making the entry point too small for resistance to target. The identity loop, casting votes for the person you are becoming with every small action. The reward reversal, preloading the emotional cost of inaction before avoidance can win. The suffering reframe, converting the feeling of resistance into the signal of growth. And the compound momentum trap, using scheduled friction to prevent success from becoming the enemy of progress. This is not a motivational system. Motivation is a mood. This is neurological architecture. It does not depend on how you feel. It does not require inspiration. It runs on structure. And structure holds when everything else fails. But here is what I need you to understand about inaction right now. Every day your brain spends running its current programming is a day it deepens those neural pathways. The longer you wait to install new architecture, the more expensive the renovation becomes. You are not standing still by doing nothing. You are moving backward, slowly, quietly, in a direction you have already seen the destination of. And you do not like that destination. The lion does not hesitate at the edge of the hunt. Hesitation is death. Move now. If this changed how you see your own brain, subscribe, because the next video in this series exposes the 6 social environments that are neurologically destroying your discipline without your awareness. You cannot afford to miss that. Right now in the comments, write one word. The one word that describes who you are becoming. Not who you were, not who you want to be. Who you are becoming starting from this exact moment. That word is your first vote for your new identity. Write becoming in the comments if your brain belongs to you now.